Your mind is flowing was like that.
Holy cow.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus!
Hi, my name's Craig, and can you believe this happened to me 5 times over the last 2 years? Every time it's really annoying, it's really expensive, and it's really dangerous. So I set out to make something that stops it from happening, and that's how I came up with the GazeboGuard. If you use the GazeboGuard on your gazebo, it can survive winds in excess of 30 knots. Okay, it's a really clever design, and this video explains how it works.
You've probably seen these gazebo weights that you fill with water or with sand and place at the corner of the gazebo. These are very hard to handle, very hard to store. There's also these gymnasium style weights as well, but again, same problem, very bulky, very difficult to store, very difficult to transport. The GazeboGuard on the hand is lightweight, easy to transport, easy to store, and increases the amount of force needed to lift a gazebo drastically.
The first thing I noticed about the GazeboGuard is the unique design of it. It has this L-shaped hook in the center, and this is the first of the 3-stage triple guard process that stops your leg actually coming loose and your canopy from flying away. So this leg is off a commercial canopy. You can see if I lift that up, slide it in there, it locks in there directly in the center of the GazeboGuard. This means that it can't take off, it would have to move in 2 different directions in order for it to disengage from the GazeboGuard. Most gazebos, when they take off, the wind will be coming from one direction and they'll all be moving in the same direction. So that's the first way of locking it. As I said, it's a triple guarding action. The second way, if I turn this over here, you can see there's a recess underneath here which locks the foot in, the base of the foot in there. What it means is even if it was able to come out this way, it will actually hit against there and it can't get out that way. So that's actually the second part of the process. And the third one is actually done by the actual tent peg that's going to be holding the gazebo down. So our first 3 tent pegs are designed to be able to go out on an angle, and I'll show you more detail on that shortly. But this 4th peg is actually a locking peg, and when I put it down through that way, as it goes down into the ground, you'll see that the head of the peg here, actually, I'll move the camera slightly so you can see that, the actual head of the peg sits inside this groove. So for the leg to come out, it has to get out of the L-shaped groove, it has to get out of the recess underneath, and it has to get past this peg here. So really it makes it impossible for the gazebo leg to ever come out of the GazeboGuard, thereby making it impossible for your gazebo to take off.
When it comes to using the guard at the beach, you don't actually need any tent pegs. The pegs that they give you when you buy your gazebo, the tiny little skinny metal ones, are pretty much useless at the beach, as are bigger metal ones. Even the yellow plastic sand pegs that you buy from the outdoor stores don't actually give you much grip in the sand. The GazeboGuard is different because you actually mount it onto the foot of the leg and then bury it 30 centimeters under the sand. Put a bit of water on top to compact the sand, and you have a leg then that can take up to 65 kilograms of vertical pressure before it will release. So you can see here, this is our elaborate sand testing rig, and you can see that we've got a large amount of sand there holding the gazebo leg down, measuring in kilograms the amount of pressure that we're putting on it, and we've got a ratchet strap there so that we can gradually increase the pressure. You can see we start off with the reading at 0, and the first thing we do is actually do a reading with no on the leg, so we can see what the normal pressure is. And you can see as we do this here and crank that up, the maximum we can get that to is around about 11 to 12 kilograms before the leg actually pulls out of the sand. You can see here the guard isn't wedged in against the sides of the container, it's free to move around as it sees fit. Now as we start to crank up on the ratchet, you can see the pressure builds fairly quickly. Remember, this is direct vertical pressure going directly up the shaft of the, so it's like your gazebo is being lifted up by the wind. You can see we're already over 50 kilograms of force required there. We've actually had to put some house bricks on top of the sand at this stage, and once we ran out of house bricks, we actually got to the stage where we were able to put 65 kilograms of pressure as the maximum pressure that it could take with just sand, no tent pegs. When we come to use the grass on a sand base, like an oval or a park, you can see we can use up to 4 very large tent pegs that are angled out away from the center of the leg. This gives a very large ground holding area, and it means that the guard can take even more force, up to over 150 kilograms of direct vertical force. You can see now this is our grass testing rig. We've got the GazeboGuard attached over the foot. We've got 4 tent pegs holding it. The D-shackle we're putting on it has actually been tearing the hooks out of the leg of the gazebo as we've been testing. So once we've got it set up here, we'll zoom in on the scales, and as we begin to crank up, that the force begins to increase. It gets very quickly up to 40 or 50 kilos. You can then see it goes through the 70 and 80s. It gets up to the stage where we're over 100 kilos. At one stage here we were worried about the rig because the ladder we had it on was only rated to 120 kilograms. As we progressed and we put more and more pressure on it, I was amazed. The leg actually started to bend here at one point. The foot started to bend on it, and we were actually able to get it over to a final reading. A maximum reading was 157 kilograms. So if you multiply that by 4 legs, that would be the equivalent of a lift of around 600 kilograms of lift, trying to lift off your gazebo off the ground. So these things really do hang on.